Please welcome founder, thepointsguy.com, Brian Kelly, founder, Airfarewatchdog.com, George Hobica, and reporter Skift, Brian Summers.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here with these great panelists. I want to get right into it here. So since I was a kid, guys, I've always wanted to get United Airlines 1K status. It's something that I've always striven for. And
that's a common thing.
But I just recently decided, you know what? I'm close this year, and I don't want it. It's not worth it for me, and I feel so much less stress. Is that normal, Brian?
You know, there definitely is some elite fatigue going on out there. The airlines have continued to move the goalposts, to change the rules. They've changed them now from frequent flyer programs to frequent spender programs. But that being said, Brian, there's still lots of value to be had. And I always tell people, just because you're angry at changes, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. There's still incredible perks that come with it, not just increased mileage earning and upgrades, but also saving time. The next time a plane, goes mechanical, they take care of those 1Ks first. So if you value your time, it may make sense to get that status.
What about you, George? You think I should go for it?
Brian 1 and Brian 2. So Brian 1, I agree with you. I am this close to getting exec platinum on American, and I'm going to Honolulu from LA later this year. And if I buy it on American, I will make that level. But Delta had a fare that was $300 per person less, and I booked with Delta. Because whenever I try to get upgraded now, and to me that's the only benefit to the programs, a free upgrade. There's 20 people on the list, no one gets upgraded. I just flew LA to JFK yesterday, 21 people on the list, and one person got upgraded. And I was in business class, but it was a $599, whoops.
It was a $599 seat. And that's why no one gets upgraded, because they're selling business class for $599 one way. It used to be like $1,200, $1,500, $2,000.
Well, I think that's a very short-sighted view, George, because if you hit that for $300
I'm not surprised.
to get American Airlines Executive Platinum status, you're going to get 4 instant executive EVIP system-wide upgrades, which conservatively I value at $500 each. So you're foregoing, you're saving $300 cash, but potentially losing all of that money. And now I do admit that the elite ranks are swelled. We'll probably see the trimming down of that next year. But the game has changed. So it's not really about complimentary elite upgrades, which, as there's huge lines to get. It's about confirming in advance with instruments. So I would say to forego that status, that enhanced customer service, and those elite upgrades is a short-sighted view.
But in addition, American has been so bad with on-time performance and so forth. And that's the other thing. Why should I be loyal to American? I want to fly in JetBlue, Delta, United, whoever has the best deal. I mean, I don't think American's a great airline anymore.
Well, I mean, I think the stats are different. No airline, the air traffic control system in this country is whack. So, I mean, and certainly I think you should choose airlines that, but as far as on-time performance, I mean, with the legacy carriers, Delta does lead, but there isn't a one-size-fits-all.
So would you guys say that airlines have been rational in cutting some of these perks, or do you think that they've sort of overcut at times?
Well, from the perspective of a consumer, rational, no, because a lot of consumers are upset. But I thought there would actually be a consumer outrage. Delta has kind of led the pack with scaling back benefits, and Delta's seen increased numbers, increased engagement. So I think a lot of cheap elites, what a lot of the airlines call passengers who buy those cheap coach fares, have gotten upgraded for free, have been cut out, but they haven't seen the negative business impact. And then from the business side, I think it's actually brilliant. Their profits are up. These frequent flyer programs are still cash cows, so they're having their cake and eating it too. So unless consumers really revolt, really start flying Mint and Norwegian, I don't foresee these changes, the negative elite changes to stop. And frankly, actually, for business travelers, they're not really negative. Scaling back the number of people going for freebies and getting those premium seats in economy is better for business travelers, so that if you do book a last-minute ticket, there may be some premium seats still available.
George, what do you think? Have these airlines cut too much, these benefits?
They can do whatever they want, and that's part of the problem. There are no rules. In fact, I think the DOT is considering adding some more regulations or looking at some more regulations on the programs. if you die, your miles are not yours, on most airlines, at least technically. You worked very hard to earn those miles, and you can't will them in a divorce. I mean, you can't, they're not game for a divorce. They keep on changing the rules, and the amount of miles you need for a free ticket, American Airlines 32,500 miles was the very easy to get first class transcon requirement. Now I see 115,000 miles, if you can get that. It used to be that you could fly anywhere for the minimum amounts. Now it's 75,000, 85,000 miles, not just American Airlines. They're screwing with us, and I don't see why I should be loyal. We were talking in the green room. I'd rather be loyal to an airline that has a really comfortable seat. And we were talking about United Airlines. I mean, I fly on all these different airlines. United has the best business class seat.
Except when it's 6 across file.
But I'd rather give my loyalty to an airline that provides good service and not for any other reason.
Brian, do you really think that these airlines are screwing with us when it comes time to price awards?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's absolutely inflation in the marketplace. I mean, simple economics will tell you, I mean, billions of miles are generated every month from credit cards, and I'm no stranger to credit cards. But that's why it's just shifting. So yes, there is an increased inflation, but you can earn miles now more than ever before. You can get 100,000 miles from a single credit card sign-up bonus. Now, the trick is don't look just domestically. So over the next 3 months, I'm flying 6 international first-class flights, amazing redemptions with Aeroplan on Star Alliance Partners. Singapore Airlines has an amazing program, flying Singapore suites to the Maldives for $200 out of pocket. So there still are many, many sweet spots. But yes, you're totally right. Why spend 50,000 miles, American miles, when you can buy $5.99 like you bought coming here? So with the points game, it still is alive and well, but you need to do the math more than ever. And unfortunately, most people don't like doing math.
George, you did a survey of your readers recently, and it turns out that they really love Southwest Airlines. And they also love the loyalty program, which, as a lot of people know, is not the most generous. But they love it anyways. So what is it that they like about that program?
Well, I think the Airfarewatchdog audience is very price conscious. I mean, obviously. And Southwest has not just low fares, but very low fees when you change a ticket. If a fare goes down and you discover it on the same flight, they'll give you a full refund in the form of a voucher good for future travel. Only Alaska Airlines now still does that. JetBlue only does it if you're a Mosaic member. We also did a survey, Brian, number 1, too, about are frequent flyer programs worth it anymore, and 80% said no. The question was, is it worth being loyal to an airline with all these changes that have gone on?
That's not a loaded question at all. But I think to your point though, Southwest has a great. It's not the most aspirational program. You're not gonna go to the Maldives with your Southwest points, but Southwest actually has one of the most valuable loyalty perks in existence. If you don't know about it, it's called the Companion Pass. You can get it by transferring hotel points. We blogged this week about 90,000 Starwood points can get you 2 years of free Southwest flights. It's incredible. So it's not like for people who just want to go first class to the Maldives. Points are very valuable, even for domestic flights, even JetBlue. So each program has its quirks, and the distance-based or the chart-based programs where you can fly anywhere in the US to anywhere in Europe can be maximized. But then the fixed value programs like Southwest are simple for those consumers who don't want that. So I just think if today's talk is about points being dead or loyalty being dead, it's not. It's just evolving.
Okay.
Have we talked about the fact that the programs cost a lot of money? Are we going to, address that?
How do you mean?
Well, to administer, like credit cards, it costs a bank $250 on average to issue one of these credit cards that people, like myself, I'm guilty, will take out and keep only long enough to do the minimum spend to get the 50,000 or 75,000 or 100,000 miles. But it costs the bank $250, and they got nothing. Who's actually paying for that? The consumer who doesn't play that game. In higher bank fees, higher interest rates, the cost to administer those programs, not just the airlines. I'll give you one really great example of playing the game, and that was when the US Dollar Coin Act was passed in 2005. And the government said, the US Mint said, we are going to send you as many coins as you want. You can put them on your credit card. We're going to pay the credit card fee, and we're going to pay the shipping. One guy got 3 million coins, 3 million miles. And today, if you were to do that, each million you can still buy with your credit card. It costs $117,000. A million coins would cost you, it used to cost the mint $117,000. And what I'm saying is that I think these programs corrupt us to do things that we shouldn't do.
Well, first off, I don't think the credit card companies don't need advocates to worry about them. They create these rules, and trust me, they are making tons and tons of money. The airlines are making billions off of these programs. Delta was practically bailed out of bankruptcy by American Express. It's profitable for the airlines. It's profitable for consumers when they know how to use the miles. I know, our millions of readers take trips they never thought possible. And yes, merchants do pay between 2% and 3% for that processing, but what I would say is all the stats show that consumers with credit cards spend more. And you also have protections as a consumer on a card. So I don't think getting rid of frequent flyer miles and credit cards is going to just all of a sudden save every consumer's 2% off the bat.
Variant number two, you hit it on the head. Yeah, people do spend more. I think the people who get those credit cards, including me, when they have to spend that $3,000 in a few months, they probably buy stuff that they didn't really want. And I think that the banks know that. That's why they make you do the minimum spend. I'm arguing that maybe frequent flyer programs are kind of like green stamps. I don't know, did you have an aunt who made you pay
I've
green
heard
stamps?
of it, yeah.
Well, they're no longer. Who remembers S&H green stamps? Oh, you're showing your age. I'm showing my age.
I don't.
You do? Well, that's because you probably had an aunt who made
No, I don't.
stick them into
Never heard of them.
books. I think frequent flyer programs are going to go the way of S&H green stamps. I really think they've outlived their usefulness. I think they're expensive to administer, for the banks, for the airlines, and I don't think they provide the value that they did back when they were founded by Texas
So
International.
Brian, do you think at some point these banks will say, look, we're paying so much money for these miles, it's just not worth it anymore?
I can assure you the banks are doing quite fine. And I disagree that consumers are either racking up debt. Smart consumers who do spend a lot of money spend a lot on these cards. Like looking in this audience, I mean, yes, there's always going to be a fraction of the population that games the system, opens, close, open, close. And Chase is cracking down on that. American Express now won't give. So the credit card companies are getting smarter. But frankly, the lifelong value of a customer is worth way more than that sign-up bonus, which they got extremely discounted because they purchased in bulk. So I think, frequent flyer miles are the greatest loyalty marketing instrument ever created. They drive business, they drive jobs. They're good for consumers when you know how to use them, good for businesses, good for credit cards. So I don't see the doomsday scenario approaching. It's too much of a big business.
Here's another objection that I have. You can see I've thought about this. So I was having dinner with a friend of mine who remain nameless. He works for a major bank, investment bank. And we were having dinner, and we were talking about airlines. And he hates United, loves British Airways. It's my favorite airline, too. So those are the two preferred airlines, the only airlines that you can really use for his company. And so he always lies and says, I won't make my meeting if it's on United, which costs less. He wants to get the obvious points. And so he lies to his corporate manager, travel manager, and says that I won't be able to make the meeting on the United flight, put me on British Airways. And it costs the company more money. And I know other people who do this too. It was kind of like my example, not wanting to spend twice as much to go to Hawaii. It's my dime, but if it's on the company's dime, I know a lot of people who will make their company pay more for an airfare simply because they want to get the status on the airline, and I don't think that's good for the economy.
And you now get more miles if you spend more money on your tickets.
Yeah, there's definitely perverse incentives, but I think that's ethics. I think that's something people are always going to want to do what's best for them. So taking away frequent flyer programs is not going to solve the ethics issues and spending appropriate employees spend. I'm sure that's everywhere across the board. But I agree that the more you spend, the more miles you earn. But that's something that companies need to take a hold of. There's plenty of new startups. I know Upside is trying to get the business traveler to spend less and incentivize them. So kind of put the incentive to spend less, I think, is kind of brilliant. So, but once again, I don't think it's a doomsday scenario.
So what U.S. airline or even global airline is doing loyalty right now? Is it Alaska Airlines or is it another airline?
Who's doing loyalty right? I will say, JetBlue is adding to their program. Actually, I'm a new JetBlue Mosaic. It's not like a traditional frequent flyer program. They're not promising free upgrades, but what they are promising is a better experience, enhanced earning, change flexibility, being able to change the flight that you're on. Same-day confirms, which is important to business travelers. American kind of pulled back. They used to have a really good same-day. Delta has made so many changes. I don't even know what Delta's policy is now. So simplicity, I think, is valuable. But frankly, on an international scale, we talk about how our airlines are so bad here in the US. The programs are really lucrative. I think we're just so used to them being insanely lucrative, and now they're less so. But you look at foreign frequent flyer programs, you're not getting free upgrades. There's no culture of free upgrades in Asia, or in Europe. So I don't think it's doomsday if we don't get something we didn't pay for, right? So I'm not totally on the side of these airlines are being so mean. They're businesses. They're meant to make money.
But we did pay for them. We are paying for them because those seats that, airlines are at 85% capacity now. When the program started, 25 years ago, they were 50% capacity. The airlines could be selling these seats. I think we all pay for the frequent flyer programs one way or another. Higher bank fees, higher interest rates, higher airfares, higher fees. I think they were a great idea when there were 10 airlines, when Northwest was here and Continental, and there were differences, and you could take your business someplace else. Now, many people don't even have a choice. If you live in Houston, really, you're flying on United. If you live in Philadelphia, you're flying on American. They were a great idea when we had competition, but now we have an oligarchy.
Well,
it's called. And,
yeah, I think consolidation within the industry is a separate topic.
But it affects frequent flyer programs.
Yes, but the frequent flyer programs are still very valuable if you know how to use them, in my opinion.
So for a long time, people who were interested in points, they were sort of in their mother's basement. They were blogging away. They were on message boards. At some point in the last 3-5 years, this became a big business. It's basically your entire business. It's part of yours. What changed? Why did travel hacking become like a real business?
So from my perspective, it became a big business when it became a big business, right? So the model in which we're founded and a lot of the other blogs and made, the advertising and the model that we're still on to this day is an affiliate model where we get money from the credit card companies. We're able to educate credit card holders on the value of those cards, how to maximize the perks in ways that credit card companies can't in traditional advertising. A new credit card in the New York Times, you're not digging in deep. What does this mean for me and my life? So just as like we've seen influencers in fashion really take hold, because consumers and millennials really want to dig down. They want to know the real deal. So that's what I started adding on staff as soon as I realized this. And the more we educated consumers on the best deals for them, the more our readership goes up. Our most popular posts to this day are credit card deals when they come out and how we translate what that means to consumers. My blog post today, I got from my Sapphire Reserve, I got $7,200 flight from my one credit card sign up. Which is pretty amazing, and other people can do the same. It's not that difficult. So I think we provide a service. These programs are confusing, which in a way is job security.
George, what do you think of the fact that this travel hacking thing has become a real business?
That travel
hacking.
Travel hacking, because it's so confusing. I think travel is just so confusing and complex now with so many choices and so many
ways. So amazing.
It's amazing, but it's also confusing, yes. And it used to be, I remember when I first flew, and you can see these timetables on online, the airlines published airfares on their timetables once a month. And that was it. And they didn't change. There were no fees, there were no taxes. There was a Y class and an F class, and that, maybe an FN for night travel. And
airfares were astronomical pre-regulation.
The first time I flew cross-country from New York to Los Angeles in 1964, I'm giving away my age here, it cost like $2,000 in like
economy.
In today's dollars. In economy, and that was the only fare. Yep. So now we can fly.
But you were looking longingly back at those times, but it was really cost prohibitive. It wasn't, travel's down, so even if people want to buy on price, they're still amazing, like your website promotes. There's amazing fare sales. You can go to Europe for less than $400.
Oh, no, airfare is cheap. Airfare is cheap, yeah. And I think they could be cheaper if the airlines weren't playing the frequent flyer.
How is airfare so cheap if these frequent flyer programs cost so much money? They don't. They drive revenue.
I think they may have at one time, but now I don't think they do.
The airlines are as profitable as they've been in a long time.
Yeah, but that's because of low fuel prices and
I think the billion-dollar contracts with the credit card companies are also helping those profits.
It helps. Yeah, it helps. It helped them out of bankruptcy. We know that. Yes, that's very true. Let's all thank the credit card companies for bailing out the airlines, because they did. That's true.
So Brian, there's a new credit card out. You may have heard.
Can you jog my memory?
Well, it's coming to my home via UPS. It's supposed to arrive tomorrow. I'm sort of excited.
Yes.
And I am just barely a millennial, but I am a millennial.
Me too. I think we're called cuspers.
All right, cuspers. So what did Chase do right? It's, it's not a card for old people, it's a card for young people.
Well, it's a card for anyone. I mean, they've certainly branded it as this millennial explosion. Who knows if that's really true? But the card, they invested heavily in the value propositions. They have huge sign-up bonus and then huge earn. So like George says, a lot of people get these cards, and why would you put money on an airline card when you're banking into one program? You're overexposing yourself to risk when that program inevitably will make changes. So the banks, Chase, Amex, Citi, now have these proprietary programs. Chase really came out punching with this credit card. The standard has been 40, 50,000 miles. It's got a 100,000 point sign-up bonus. Get a $300 a year in free travel that's instantly credited. So the first day you take an Uber, it's taken off, up to $300. So you're paying $450, you're getting instantly $300 back, and then you're getting $1,500 minimum. I got $7,000. But your minimum, even the dumbest person will get $1,500 in value from those 100,000 points. So the math is easy to do. It's not convoluted. There's solid transfer partners. So they've really created this storm of the value propositions there. And instead of just signing up and getting the free ticket and on one airline, you're getting 3 points per dollar on all travel, all dining, every single airline. You don't have to use it for different things. It's going to be top of wallet. And I think long term, by having so many people love it, use it, it's a cool actual card stock. They ran out of the metal.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So instead of spending on celebrity endorsements and TVs and poster and billboards, they put it into the product. And I know everyone else in the credit card industry is kind of like, what? How the heck do they do this?
Yeah.
But I think it's a long-term play, and I think it's gonna. They're building. You can't put a price on that having a credit card. That's a thing that people like to talk about.
Do you want to tell the room what your referral bonus is for each
What my
approval?
referral bonus, unfortunately, I can't tell you what my referral bonus is, but if you apply through thepointsguy.com/CSR, I will take a free
I don't
plug,
think we
Brian.
can have this.
By the way, Airfarewatchdog has ads for these credit cards too, so I may
Send some to George
get
for
into
it.
trouble for, luckily Steve Coffer is not watching this. He told me he was not going to see my presentation, CEO of TripAdvisor, which owns Airfarewatchdog, but we do get advertising from these cards. And so that's just how I feel.
And that's a lucrative part about all these sites, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we
totally.
make our money.
Yeah.
Our first month with American Express, before we were bought, we made $50,000, and we only had like 200,000 subscribers. We don't do that anymore. We don't have referral. We just have ads. I don't think we do what Brian number 2 does. But yeah, you can make a huge amount of money from credit card referrals. Are they evil? I don't know.
Okay, we'll just leave it there. There is another way to get miles. It's part of the reason that I became an Avianca Life Miles member recently. I actually bought hundreds of thousands of Avianca Life Miles for a very cheap rate. My wife thought I was nuts until I went to Seoul in first class. But is this part of these programs now that they're just selling miles?
Yeah, so the programs are they're selling miles. It's a business to them. They hope that most people won't redeem for that Korean first class or Asian or whatever. So buying miles can make a lot of sense, but do the math, right? So you can buy 100,000 Alaska miles back in the day. That could get you Emirates first class to Africa, right? So $8,000 ticket for $1,800, done, 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 do it any day. But what ended up happening is Alaska doubled the price overnight, right? So it's a risky game to play. But buying miles, especially when there's promotions, can make a lot of sense, especially if you value first class and business class. If you were never going to pay the $8,000, can you really take that $8,000 as a value? That's a subjective question that has no right or wrong answer. I mean, many people do pay full fare to sit in the same seat, so I would say that there is value. But buying miles, but never do it at the kiosk, and try not to do it when there's not a bonus, because they run bonuses all the time.
George, what do you think? Should we buy miles, or should we just buy tickets?
I have done it when they've had 100,000 100% bonus offers. So you buy 100,000 and you get 100,000. I paid 50.
Well, why? I thought they were evil.
I do a lot of things that are evil, Brian number 2.
So I've heard.
I do, yeah, but it doesn't mean they're right. No, just thinking about this, I thought, really, what is the cost of these programs? So that's why, yeah, I've done it. I've also smoked before. Did I just equate smoking with Rick Employer programs? I think I did.
Well, they're both
buying
addictive,
miles,
right?
They are both
Yeah.
addictive.
Yeah, I think I just did. No, buying miles, I have done it. guilty as charged. I do a lot of things that I shouldn't.
I rest my case.
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time. Thank you both very much, and this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jake.